Okay, so thanks everyone for coming. So I'd like to say thanks to Orchard who supplied the refreshments tonight. Also for Code for allowing us to, like, people from basically Code are speaking quite often Manchester Red now, so it's great that allowing us to do that. And also the filming as well tonight. So not sure if you've used Gulp before, but it can be quite technical. So obviously, if there's anything you don't get tonight, I'll stick the video up online as well so you can go over it. And yeah, that's about it really. So we'll start.
Okay. Well, hi everyone, I'm Barney. I'm here to talk to you about your Gulp addiction. So who am I? I'm a senior front-end dev at Code Computer Lab, who are literally I can pretty much see into the office there. I've been working as a front-end dev, for about 13 years. And I'm BMDS pretty much everywhere on the internet. I love task runners. I love what they let us do, I love the automation they bring to building websites. I love the fact that they get rid of messy humans who make mistakes and break things. I love building them, I love playing with them, but as much as I love task runners, I like building websites better. They're a very active topic in the dev world. Everyone's talking about them and everyone's got a module and pushed it. Grunt's been the front runner for a while, so 16,000 modules on NPM, so you've got a bit of choice there. Gulp's similar, it's the new kid on the block. Again, it's 12,000 modules. If you need to do something, it's pretty much on there. If you're a bit more hipster, there's Broccoli, which is fairly new, it's got a bit of way to catch up, but the point is there's a lot there. There's a lot of things to know, to talk about, and there's a lot of code to look at. So I think we've got a problem though. I think we're spending too much of our time building and maintaining and fixing task runners. Time that we better spend building websites. We're devs, we love shiny new things. Someone talks about a new module and we're like, I quite like that. Add it into Gulp, shit, everything's broken. You spend ages trying to work out what's going on. So I'm going to start by telling you what I think the problem is, and then I'm going to go straight into telling you what I think the solution is. And then I'm going to spend the rest of my talk trying to convince you that that is the solution. So the problem. We keep building complicated, difficult to manage, fragile task runners. They change with each project, and the only person that mostly understands them is the person that originally wrote it. That's quite wordy, but I think it covers a lot of the problems we're having at the minute. And I think my answer to it is to treat your task runners like the rest of your code. It's a small sentence compared to the previous one, but it's got a lot of implications. I think at the minute a lot of us see task runners as this special flower that sits outside our website that we treat differently, that we don't work on like code. But it's code. Like at the end of the day, it's the same as the rest of our website. It is part of our website, we just don't send it to our end users. It might be because it's new, and they're shiny and relatively new on the block, and we're not used to them yet, or they seem a bit different because we're not deploying them out onto a server. And as much as I think there's a load of problems there, I don't think task runners themselves are at fault. At the end of the day, again, they're just code. We tell them what to do and they do it. The simple automatons. When you look at it really, I think it's obvious who's at fault here. Us. We're far too into the new and shiny, giving us access to NPM. It's 6-year-olds like having a sweet shop. You just go mad. You can't take all the new things you can play with. Every time someone puts a blog post on, we stop building for a day and we go and add it to our task runners because that's the cool new thing. Obviously, you're going to have it. So if you've decided you've got a problem, then how do we solve this? And like most development things, I think the solution is to break it into smaller tasks like we do everything else. We get a big problem, chunk it up. So I've made a 6-step program. It's like the NPM version of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I'm going to start with the first step, obviously. Rules. You've got to give yourself some rules. We can't be trusted. We're too busy to jump onto new things. We need rules. So you need to start reusing your task runners. It's a chunk of code we spend a while building. And then we start a new website. And we start with an empty folder. We start building a task runner again. And then the next project comes along, we open up a new empty directory and build a task runner again. They use pretty much the same thing every website. We're doing the same thing between those websites. Take what you've done before and use it again. You're doing it for the rest of your code. I'm not going to stop you playing with the new and shiny, but don't go mad. If you're going to add new things, reason about it, and add like 1 or 2 per project. Really think about what you need to add. Don't just chuck everything on because it's new. And if you are going to add things, do it at the start. Don't wait until it's 3 days before the site launches and you've heard about this brilliant new thing that's there, and you add it on, all your code's broken, and it's got to go live tomorrow, and then you're spending ages trying to work out why it's broken. You don't need that headache. If you're going to add new risky things, do it at the start. And before you add it, actually think about if you need it. Think about whether it was just something you heard about that sounded cool, so you felt you had to play with it. That's what personal projects are for. Personal projects that are allowed to break. People don't expect them to be up and running. We're paid to make things that work. So if you want to try out something new, create a quick little project, try it out, see if it works or not. If it does, next time you've got to do something, stick it on. So all these rules start to help us stop changing it every project. We've got some consistency in it. If you look at it between projects, you pretty much know what's going to be there. And you start to get rid of the problem with it. So we can't be trusted. And if we can't be trusted, we definitely can't trust other people. So give everyone else in your team rules. Start laying the groundwork of working properly. So your architect recently, discuss what you're doing amongst your team. Don't just sit there and go, oh, by the way, guys, I've added a new Sprite plugin, it's great, it does all this stuff. Oh, it might be broken, but it's definitely really cool. Before you add things, talk about them, discuss it amongst yourselves. You do it with the rest of your site, again, you do it with the rest of your code. If you've got a problem, you talk about it. You don't just do stuff and then see if it breaks and then do more stuff. And once you've had those discussions, write them down. You've had them on Slack, you've got it there already. Whether you've got issues or you're doing readmes, documentation, pull requests, wherever you write them down, write down that you decided that you're using libsass rather than RubySass and why you're using it. So that if someone comes in and says, oh, by the way, what SAS compiler are you using? Well, here, and we're using it because of this, and you might have different views, but this is what we're using. And then version those notes. Give yourself a path to move up so that you're allowed to change your mind, you're allowed something new comes out that's better, you can upgrade to it. You've got a progression, you can see the point, someone say, well, at this point in time, we did this, but now it's this, and you can see where the knowledge has gone. So we're talking amongst the team, we're spreading it amongst the team. Everyone's got a finger in the pie, everyone knows what's going on, which is a good thing. You don't want to go away on holiday, come back, and there's a mountain of issues assigned only to you, because you're the only person that knew the task runner, and it broke while you're away, and the site couldn't be deployed because the task runner was broke, so no SAS got built. And on your first day back, you've got 50 issues you've got to fix by 12 o'clock, because that's when the deployment's due. If the rest of your team knows what's going on, you're not in that position. So step 2. Unify your settings. So you need to start making it easier to work out what's going on in your code. You've got settings everywhere, whether they're paths to files to specify which JavaScript files you're going to uglify or concatenate. They're config settings of whether you're uglifying your code or whether you're generating source maps or what you're doing, but they're repeated throughout your code. When you're building a website, you don't have the same magic strings scattered throughout. So it becomes a nightmare to maintain. You group it into one place. It's the dry principle, you don't repeat yourself. Do it with your task runners. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen code a bit like that. For your task runners, you're specifying all your scripts that are going to be washed. They're going to be linted, you decide to lint it. And then, because it's so long, because all these paths, it's pushed off the bottom of the screen. You've got the actual task that's going to concatenate them all and uglify them. And there's a lot of repetition there. And then there's an added wrinkle that when you're linting, you don't want to lint other people's code, so you're not linting the polyfills and the vendor code. But when you're adding stuff, it's quite hard to work out what you need to add. And it's very easy to add it in one place and not somewhere else, and all of a sudden you get stuck. So put them into a config setting. Suddenly all the code's a lot easier to read, it's all more compact. You've got all scripts, config setting, that's all the scripts you use on the site. Anyway, you need to do all scripts to pull it in. You've got our scripts, you're doing anything with it, there's unit testing, you're linting, that's where all your scripts are. You've written it in a way that makes it easy to understand. And if you change it in one place. And everywhere that needs to do something with scripts knows that. You're going to make less mistakes. And it's easier to spot mistakes when you make them, because it's all in one place. It's easier to get it in your head. And as I said, you do it with your sites, you should do it here. The second part of it is to use command line arguments. Now, I had it in the last bit I showed you there, but we're making decisions on whether to lint them or whether to add source maps in or whether we should uglify them, depending on whether it's production code or not. So rather than having two distinct sets of tasks, one that you run on production for building a site before it's deployed and one that you use when you're developing it, you've got one set of tasks that you use an if statement to work out what exactly it's going to do. So if you're updating your tasks and you've got two completely different trees of them, you're going to miss something. You're going to add one to one task and all of a sudden your production task runner might have different linting rules than your dev one. So you're happily coding away, lint is passed, you're doing everything right, you commit, you push it up, your CI falls over, and then nothing gets deployed because obviously it's got different linting rules you didn't catch. So it stops you having those duplicate pathways through your code. Really simple to do, there's a great module called yargs. It lets you get access to all the command line arguments, so you can do gulp -prod. Look in there, what I call prod, true or false, and then add it to a config variable. Anyway, you need to know whether you're using production or not through your code. It's in your config, it's in one place. You're not having to copy code throughout the site. It's as simple as you can be, and you've been descriptive of what you've said. Am I on production or not? What do I do? So Gulp if was the one I was using previously. It lets you just put an if statement in with your tasks. If it's true, it passes it through to it. If not, it falls through to the next. So we're starting to make it easier to manage. We've pushed all the config into one location so we can understand it easier. We've made the mental load in working out what the tasks are doing less because you're using config value. It's simple. If you need to know what that config value is, looking within the configuration. And you've made mistakes more obvious. Everything's in one place, so you can look through it and you can work out what's going on. Well, I've sat there in the past when I've been building a site. I've added a load of new modules and I've added into them to the uglify task because I knew I needed them in. And I've sat there and they've all worked and deployed and I need to make a change. I'm coding away and nothing's happening. I'm hitting refresh, I'm on the dev site, no. On local, definitely on local. What's happening? Why's my code not there? I've not added it to the watch task. Restart Gulp, it's there. And that was 10 minutes of me getting really frustrated trying to work out what's gone on. And it took me 10 minutes and I wrote the task runner. And I found out what had gone wrong. Someone else in my team had done it. They hadn't written the task runner, maybe they didn't understand it as well. That might be half an hour, it might be half a day. Why is the code not working? If you put it in one place, those sort of mistakes are easier to spot. You get rid of a headache that you don't need. Step 3, we're halfway there. Split up your tasks. So, putting everything in one place is causing problems. We're doing a huge number of things. We're linting, we're compiling SAS, we're uglifying code. We've got 10, 15 different tasks running in there. We've got one massive file, 900,000 lines on file with a huge number of tasks that you need to do something with it. You spend 5 minutes scrolling up and down the file or doing a search to try and work out what's going on. And it's a headache you don't need. When you're building websites, you don't have one massive file that all your JavaScript lives in. When you deploy it to the server, you do because you bundle it all together. But when you're writing it, you have lots of small files so that you're working on the burger menu. You look in the burger menu file, you can work it out. Again, with your task runners, split it out. All of them support it. It's sort of easy to do with any of them. It doesn't matter if you're on Gulp or Grunt or Broccoli or whatever you're on there, it will do it. And I suggest you group them by sort of logical actions. So you've got a load of things touching your CSS, you've got post CSS, you've got SAS, you've got all that running. Put it in a file, task.css.js or task.sas.js. If you're doing something with your styles, you know where you need to look. You're not hunting around in a massive file, you've got one file. And the benefit is then it probably all fits on one screen at the same time, so you're not even having to scroll. You can see everything and you can hold it in your head in one go. So while you're at it, stick all your linters in with it, make it the default. You're doing something with JavaScript, it's got uglify in with the script task, it just happens. It's not something you've got to add separately, it's just there, you've got script stuff, it's linting it. The other benefit is just saying don't recreate it every time you're building a website. Reuse task runners. If you split it up into files and you know you need the Sass things and you know you need JavaScript, but you don't need image minify because it's being handled by a CMS this time around. You've got 2 files you can pull out. You're not hunting through a 1,000-line file, grabbing tasks that were in order at the start, but then you got lazy and just started adding them in random places and into the bottom. You can just take out chunks of code you need. And it reduces your cognitive load. You're not having to have a big file in your head. You've got small bits, you need to work on something, you can think about that one thing at a time. So it helps us be less complicated. We've simplified it out by splitting it up, and we've given ourselves a series of small problems. I've had it in the past where someone's added a second image minification task in there, because the first one wasn't noticed because it was midway up through a file. And we've got 2 different image minification tasks running that are overwriting each other. If you've got an images task section, you're not going to do that mistake, you're not going to make it. Step 4, treat it like a UI. So it's a task runner, you're building a task runner, it's doing lots of tasks. But it's also a user interface that you've built just for your team, possibly even just for the website you're using. You access it via the command line, but again, it's a series of commands you're running that's a user interface. So follow the basic principles of user interfaces. Make it easy to do the right thing. All the task runners come with a default task. Don't have Gulp dev and Gulp serve and Gulp watch to build your website. If that's what you need to do to build your website, make the default task do that. Anyone working on it can understand what they need to do. And then document your UI. So this is a README of a project we've got. It tells you what to do when you pull the project down for the first time. You run npm install. When you get working on it, you run Gulp. If you need to test the production code or you're pushing it up to a CI, we're using the command line argument, you run Gulp prod. If you've got other things that do more complicated things, stick them on as well. But it takes 5 minutes to write this sort of thing. And it lives in with the project and it comes down with it. And the 5 minutes it took to write that is a quarter of the time it takes to go onto someone else's machine, copy the project down for them, run npm install for them, and then talk them through all the modules on there. And then doing that for every member of your team. You can do this once, and it's there forever. And in 6 months, 12 months, a year, 12 months is a year, comes back, you don't have to talk anyone through it. So again, we're starting to make sure that you're not the person that knows everything about it. Everyone else can use it, and they can use it much easier because it's a simpler interface, because you've thought about making it easy for everyone to use it. So you don't want to be that person that's there every day saying, what is I do to run this site then? Gulp dev. You don't need that in your life. No clean slate. So start creating a base project. Don't recreate the task runner each time, as I've said, and then also don't grab it from the previous website you built and then cut out all the stuff you didn't use and then change it because it's got stuff specific to that website in. Create a clean website starting point for a task runner, or even if you integrate it in with your normal base project. It gets you up and running quickly. It gives you a place to store your task runners and then update it as you change your task runners in the future. If you find a new module you like using, add it to your default project, your base project. Put the time, if you've got to add it in, put the time in with the rest of your job and just make updating it part of it so it reflects the state of your art. Because if it doesn't, it becomes useless. And it's, again, well, we've got the base project, but really the thing we did for that last website is better, so I'll just grab that again and you're back to the beginning where you're constantly trying to cut out code to get to the point you need. And the other thing it gives you is that you're not always going to be the person that starts a project. You might be on holiday, you might be doing another project, and the site's being built, and it's started, and it might be a week before you get on it. Someone's added a task runner, and it's doing things, but they're using Ruby Sass and you use libsass, and They're using JS-Hint and you use ESLint, and there's lots of differences there. You're not always going to be starting it, but it gives you a chance to define how projects sit and start them in the way that you want them to start. Again, it stops it changing with each project. You're giving consistency to your code. If someone's looking at it, well, they know what's there because they've got the base project, and all the sites in the agency, they all got similar things. So if someone has to jump over to another team to help them out, you don't spend half a day running them through everything it does because it's the same as theirs. Step 6, shrink wrap it. And out of everything that's going to cause you headaches, this is the thing that will stop it the most. So when you define your dependencies in your package.json, you've got a dependency listed in, and then either very strict or not so strict specification of what version you'll use using semver. The problem is that how's your dependency defined as dependencies? How strict have they been? Do they care? Have they been explicit in their versions? And then their dependencies. So 10 minutes later, when someone else pulls it down, they might use the same code because someone's updated their module and pushed it to NPM, and it breaks because they've not respected semver, and all of a sudden your task run that you just spent ages building, it's lovely, it's great, it's brilliant, doesn't work. And you've got to sit there and work out what's gone wrong. Or maybe they don't do that, but you come back to a project in 6 months and someone needs to do something, and again it doesn't work because everything's changed and you've got to fix it all. So SHRINKWRAP comes with NPM, it's part of NPM. It used to be a slightly separate thing, but it's been fully integrated in. And all NPM does, all SHRINKWRAP does, is it specifies your dependencies all the way down the tree. So you run it on your project, it lists every module you've got, however deep in the tree it is, and it gives it an exact version. Creates a file you then use, and then anyone that runs npm install from that point on gets exactly the same code you have. However long in the future it is, as long as npm's up, they'll get the same code you have. So you know it's not going to stop working. That's how you run it. It's not complicated, it's really simple. Most people, I think, can cope with it. And it generates npm-shrinkwrap.json. You commit it into Git, that's it. You don't worry about code changing anymore and your project breaking. However long in the future, your code's going to work. It's up on the npm site and the documentation, it's quite easy to find, but there's a lot more detail on there, but in reality there's not a lot more you need to know to use it, because all it does is it does a similar job to package.json, but very strict in what code you go. So we're trying to stop it being fragile here. We're trying to make sure that you don't get a task in to do something, you've just got to add a social icon to the footer of the site you last did a year ago. Clone it down so it's not on your file system anymore. You say, oh, it'll take me an hour to do that because you're being really generous because you don't think it'll take you that long. And then nothing works. And you spend half a day trying to recreate your task runner because everything's broken in the meantime, and your project manager's there saying, well, you said it'd take an hour, why are you still here doing this? It's simple. You don't need that headache. You don't have it, you don't need to. I lied about there being 6 steps. There are 7 steps. But up to this point, crucially, you've not had to install anything. I'm not feeding you node addiction. You've used all the same modules you've already got. You've just thought a bit differently about how you're going to group it and what you're using. You've used all your existing tools. You've just moved them around a bit. So I'm going to ruin everything and tell you about some more modules that I think you should use. I'll give myself a pass for the first one because it's not a module, it's a service. And very simply, you give it access to your repo, and it takes a copy of your package.json, remembers it, then one of your dependencies updates. It branches your repo, updates that dependency to the new version, and then runs your tests against it to make sure your task runner still works. If it works, creates a pull request. You then get your CI will run through it, check that everything's still running, and if it does, you'll get all green on your branch, and you can merge it in, or more likely, pull that branch down, run a series of sense checks against it to make sure it works, and then merge it in. So this is what a pull request from them looks like on one of our projects. So it lets me know that conventional change log is updated, what version it's updated to. exactly what was fixed and what commits were involved in that update. I can see the 3 tests I had running on it all passed. So at this point, I'm not just running npm outdated and going, oh, it's 5 things outdated, but it's got to be better if they're updated, surely. You're just updating the versions. It gives you a controlled way of updating. It lets you put more thought into what you're doing. And if it breaks, delete the branch, don't use it. When it updates again, they'll ping you again and send you another version. And you can sit there and decide when you actually want to update. So the next one's called SNIK. And there's various people involved. It's quite young. Remy Sharp's one of the people that's involved with it. So again, it's a service like Greenkeeper. And it, again, scans your repos and looks at your dependencies. But what it does with them is very different. So SNIK scans for security exploits and holes in your code. So it looks at all the dependencies. If there's a known exploit for it, it'll alert you. And you'll get an email or however you configured it to tell you that somewhere in your code there's a security hole in it. And if you're purely using a task runner, it might not matter that much, or it might. But you don't just do task runner things from it. You pull down jQuery, or you pull down libraries and then include them in and bundle them up. Or you've got a Node site included with it because it's just a simple site, so you can do it with Node. And this lets you know when there's a problem. It'll tell you what module's updated to it. And at that point, if you've got Greenkeeper as well, you'll probably have a pull request from them giving you that updated version, which SNIK will have told you fixes your problem and you can review it. The other side of it is if you've got security holes or bugs in code that hasn't been patched and hasn't had a new version released, they've got a curated list of patches. So they've gone through and for updates that happen, they'll copy that code in and let you do it as a patch as well. So for security exploits that you can't necessarily upgrade for, you can patch the code to fix the hole. And it comes with a little command line tool that you can run whenever on there. npm install runs, then this runs after and patches everything in Node modules. So everyone's running the same code, but you're sure that it's secure at this point. So the next one is a module. And it's not directly about fixing your task runners, but it's about making you be more careful with what you do. So Commitism's a commit message templating tool that basically when you commit, it gives you a structure to put your commit message in, and if you want, you can add git hooks in to only accept commit messages that pass that structure. What it does is it lets you look through your code, whether it's just for your task runner or your whole site, and it lets you see what the changes are in a reasoned way, rather than there being fixed this, did stuff, docs. I've had it before where someone just got bored of putting commit messages and just put dot, because it's the smallest thing that Git would accept, which was no use to anyone, but it was easy and it got away with it. And you just done stuff and you did 40 things and you can't remember what it was, so it's easier to just do one commit and add them all in. So this is a quick little demo of what it does. So just create a little file. Make sure that it's not in the repo already. Add it in, and then I'll try and do just a standard commit. And I've added git hooks on this to stop anyone doing stupid things. And I can't commit it. I didn't put a sensible commit message in. So you do git committed, and it gives you some options. What sort of thing were you doing? What did you do? Put it in there, decide what it was. What sort of code did it touch? What were you doing? And then write a description of what you did, a short one. Be concise. So it gives you a quick way when you're scanning back to your commits what's changed. Gives you a quick info, and then it gives you space to put a lot more information about what you did. And it's a simple thing, but it makes you think about your commits, and it makes you think about what you're doing, and it makes your Git history useful, rather than just a series of things that you've actually got to go into the commit itself to work out what's going on. No, I spelled appallingly on there. So I'll pull up here, just put it in the git log. Again, I can't spell log.